So yes, I've been a vegan for more than 16 years. Time really does fly when you're having fun, doesn't it? So last year I made a video about my 15 years as vegan and like what they don't tell you about going plant-based for that long amount of time, you know, like the unexpected effects. And no, I can assure you, protein deficiency is not one of them. So today I wanted to like look back over those 16 years and talk about my struggles with this. Like, does a vegan life get harder or easier the longer you stick to it? And what has been the biggest hurdles and like lessons and what I find to be the almost like most unbearable aspect of being vegan. So let's back up. 16 years ago, when I decided to quit animal products, this was like back in what, early 2008, or was it maybe late 2007 probably? And I was actually a bit nervous about taking like this big dietary step. And I was nervous for 3 reasons mainly. First of all, I thought I would miss some of my favorite foods like goat cheese, gorgonzola, and like Swedish Västerbotten cheese. As you can hear, I was a cheesehead, and yes, I do think that cheese was the only thing that I was a bit nervous about quitting. I had already been vegetarian since I was 11, so really, considering how ridiculously easy I found that step to be when I was 11, I probably should have realized that this next step wouldn't be much harder. And plot twist, it wasn't harder at all. I didn't like miss cheese. This was like not of my struggles as a vegan. Shocking to hear, I know. Especially considering that it seems like cheese is the one thing most people worry about when considering going plant-based. And it's no surprise really, since I mean, we know that cheese is an addictive food chemically. So yes, cheese is probably hardest to let go of for most people. But for me anyway, once you do, it's like so very much easier than it seemed. The second reason I was nervous was because I thought, or I was convinced actually, that I was making a health sacrifice for the sake of my ethics. Because yes, I am an ethical vegan. I made the decision because I couldn't support the animal industries anymore after seeing, you know, all the abuse and trauma that we put animals through to get milk and eggs and the rest of it. So I had been bombarded with information telling me that I wouldn't get enough protein, iron, B12, etc., but mostly just protein. Back then, there was like an obsession with protein and everyone ate so much of it that I feel like horrible for the kidneys when I think about it. Anyway, B12, I make sure to get as a supplement, and vitamin D, especially in like the darker months. But I've tested myself so many times over these 16 years, you know, doing blood tests, and I've never even been close to having a deficiency. Usually doctors tend to like compliment me on my blood, if you excuse me taking a moment to brag here. But I'm not like religious about macro or micronutrients. Like, I'm interested in health, but I'm not like a health freak that way. I just eat what feels good. And I've had like the same diet for like the last 10 years. So how I'm feeling in combination with what different blood tests have told me, I'm doing really good. One thing that has changed during these 16 years, like massively changed, is that the general public no longer thinks it's a health sacrifice to go plant-based, but instead in general, quite a big health benefit. I want to say a huge thank you to CoPilot Fitness for sponsoring this video. You might remember me talking about them back in December when I had just started exercising at home after cancelling my utterly uninspiring gym membership. So my plan was to find a way to build muscles in a way that I didn't hate. So to like get into an at-home workout routine that would keep my body pain-free and give me, you know, a bit of biceps. So I was aiming for 3 30-minute sessions per week, and I am now so into it that I earlier this year asked my coach Heidi to go up to 4 sessions per week, and then a couple of months ago to go up to 5 sessions per week. How extraordinary, don't you think? Me working out Monday to Friday every week just because I sort of love it. It's true, I'm so into it. I don't have to like force myself to exercise. It's like almost like a bit of a pleasure, dare I say. And yes, my biceps are definitely increasing. For those of you who don't know CoPilot Fitness, it's an app that helps you with personalized coach-led workouts. So you start with an introductory meeting where I got teamed up with the lovely trainer Heidi, and we're in touch all the time now. And she asked me about like my goals and my struggles and if I have any injuries, but also like the best thing, she asks me all about like my personal exercise preferences, and then she will switch it up like every few weeks, so I keep getting challenged and so I don't get bored doing, the same sets over and over and over. And now I have been doing Heidi's routine 100% custom made for me for the last 5 months or so. And listen to this, after each session I can give feedback, like which movements I enjoy doing or which I hate doing, or if it's too easy or if it's too hard, or just like anything that comes to mind. And she will customize it to my personal preferences and what's realistic to my lifestyle. So it's like having a personal trainer that you don't have to book a time to see, because with my schedule changing so quickly all the time, I could never manage to have a personal trainer. I need like a workout schedule that's much more flexible. But why take my word for it when you can try it for yourself? Just click my CoPilot fitness link to get, listen to this, a 14-day free trial with your own personal trainer. That is a good deal if I ever heard one. Huge thank you to CoPilot Fitness, and let's get back to the video. The third thing I was nervous about, and this is for sure the biggest change that has happened these last 16 years, was the perception of me as a person being vegan. Since back then, a vegan generally brought to mind this like militant terrorist releasing minks from mink farms and like bombing slaughter trucks. Granted, I wasn't ethical or like a political vegan, but I had no plans of making my activism go beyond like talking about it online and, trying to encourage David to go plant-based too, which he did like a few months after me. Nowadays, I think when people picture a vegan, they picture, like the yoga chic health vegan in the oat milk aisle, much less scary than the bomb-throwing terrorist of 2008. Actually, I looked this up quickly, and today in the UK, 3 to 4% of the population is actually vegan and another 6% are vegetarian. The numbers are really similar in Sweden, like 4% vegan, 6% vegetarian. But back in 2008, David and I were the only vegans that we knew. There were like almost no vegan meat substitutes, and we had to like go to a very tiny, very smelly organic shop to find tofu. Times have changed. But what about the other 90%, the omnivores? Well, I was really happy to read that, listen to this, in the last 20 years, milk consumption has halved in the UK, and only in the last 10 years, meat consumption is down 14%, with 40% of meat eaters saying that they're actively trying to reduce their meat consumption. So it's not just that veganism is growing, it's that omnivores are becoming more aware and careful of not consuming as much animal products. So it seems like, yes, we are going through a massive shift in how we look at our diet from a combined standpoint of health and ethics. And I do believe that one day we will look back at all this and be just horrified by what we used to put other animals through just because we like the chemical intoxication of cheese and, yes, the smell of bacon. So all the struggles I had, the fear of deficiencies, the difficulty of finding good vegan products in the food shop and at restaurants, and like the perception of vegans and the endless, non-stop, uncomfortable questions at dinner parties. As a sort of early adopter, vanguard vegan back then, we had to like reply to so many, quite frankly, ridiculous questions like, what will we do with all the grass? Or like, would you eat a pig if it was on a deserted island? And oh man, the protein. Seriously, back then, saying you were vegan, every Joe Schmo was all of a sudden a nutrition scientist with a special expertise in amino acids. This phase of my vegan journey is long since over though. I would say by 2013, 2014, the plant-based boom had happened and like omnivores had simply got used to having us around and seeing firsthand that we were neither anemic or suffered muscle atrophy. So it was all fine, live and let live, etc. So what then? What's the struggle still today? If I'm happy health-wise and appetite-wise and in how society now perceives me, what is still the one relentless, never-ending struggle of my vegan journey? Well, I told you I became vegan because I simply couldn't stand the way the animal industries treat other sentient animals that can feel physical and emotional pain. So I checked this too, and the latest estimation I found from 2023, it was estimated that we kill about 92 billion animals every year for food, and that's just the land animals. There's no way of knowing how many fish we kill because they are measured in weight, not in lives. So 92 billion. It's impossible to even have like a response to this, isn't it? And this number is higher than ever before. And for me, the thing I can't stand to think about is not the fact that these 92 billion animals are killed, it's how they are treated from the day they're born until the day they're killed, the conditions they live under and the pain that they go through. So I'm sorry to talk about upsetting things, but my struggle with being an ethical vegan is that even though life has become so much easier for us vegans, it hasn't for the animals. The number of people who decide to go plant-based around the world hasn't yet offset the increase in meat consumption globally. Not to mention the environmental impact, of course, like with this increase of animal products. So no matter if you care about animal welfare or if you care about your own dietary health, we should at least all have in common to care about the planet because, well, it's not like environmental disasters in the future, it's already here. And I mean, we know that the number one biggest change that us, civilians can do for the planet is to go plant-based. So my struggle with veganism is to not become too complacent. I don't want to think that just because I'm not touching the stuff that I can sort of relax. Because even though there's more and more of us cutting down on or completely scrapping animal products, and we're moving in the right direction that way, we're still moving in the wrong direction as for the planet and for animal welfare. And look, if you think I'm being sensationalist or exaggerating, feel free to look this up yourself. The images are there. The animal abuse is not like the odd case. It's systemic. The practice of these farms to be like as financially efficient as they are is built on routine abuse. Even in the UK, even in Sweden, who, pride themselves of having one of the best animal welfare legislation in the world, it's worldwide. So, usually when I talk about this stuff, I stick to the positive aspect of like how it makes me feel both physically and mentally and, taste bud wise to be vegan. But today I decided to talk about the background to this decision of mine to not consume animal products, simply because once you do sit down and inform yourself about what these industries are like and what goes on inside the farms, you can never unsee it. And it will change like your view on humanity, that we can have the cruelty to create an industry this horrific and that we're still somehow supporting it to go on. We as a society need to step it up. Like we need to stop giving our money to the one industry who contributes to by far the most suffering and one of the industries with the biggest environmental impact. So if you're on the fence, if you've been considering a more plant-based diet, my suggestion would be to consider this. On almost an everyday basis, we will like rotate the same 5 or 6 dishes for lunch and dinner every day. And then, maybe we will eat out or cook something more fun on the weekend. But for our everyday basic diet, we need like 5 or 6 different meals that we enjoy eating and that are inexpensive and that are nutritionally sound. So, start there, find those 6. Experiment with recipes until you have like found a few that you enjoy. Easiest is of course to just take something unvegan and just make it vegan. Almost anything has a vegan version. And once you have these recipes that you enjoy, just start rotating them. That will make you like, 90% vegan, like having oat milk with your porridge instead of cow's milk and having soy mince instead of meat in your bolognese, It's not like more complicated than that really. And I am here to assure you, cheese, I don't miss it. Deficiencies, I don't have them. Physically, I feel better than ever after these 16 years. And mentally, I've already talked about this in other videos, that I'm like striving for a more non-violent life in general, because I am like, a tender-hearted girl and I abhor violence in all its forms. And of course, like not consuming violence in the shape of food, it makes me feel that much more sweeter and lovelier as a person. I will like happily admit this, but enough about this sweet, lovely person and over to you, sweet, lovely people. What is your diet like? Are you happy with it? And how are you feeling about all this, like the ethical impact of our diets? Are you making food shop choices based on your ethics? Or is it like too difficult to see your food shopping as a part of your ethics? Tell me everything. I want this to be like a safe space to encourage each other, but also, to just rant about how difficult dietary choices can be. So go ahead, talk away in the comment section. And if you want me to make more of these like foodie videos, do let me know. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe so that I will see you next week already. And don't forget to click my CoPilot fitness link in the description and get a 14-day free trial with your own personal trainer. Thank you so much, my loves. Always love talking to you about this, and see you very, very soon, I hope. Bye.